And we are recording. Chair Hyland, would you like to introduce the meeting?
You can go ahead.
Okay. This is the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force Education Outreach and Training Committee. The date is November 9, 2021. The time is 5:33. Just to review some particularities. This meeting is a remote regular meeting. The listen public call-in telephone number is 415-906-4659. The meeting ID is 984-116-156#. If you wish to make a statement during general public comment, please press *6 and unmute your telephone to speak. Please press *6 to mute your telephone once you are done with your statement. Remote access to information and participation.
Cheryl, let me stop you there. I don't think we need to read that. I think that's all there, and we can skip decorum as well. So let's just get straight to the business.
Okay, that's fine. I do have to take roll though. Member Padmanabhan?
Here.
Member Padmanabhan here. Chair Hyland?
Here.
Chair Hyland here. We have a quorum. Item number 1, call to order, roll call, and agenda changes. We've done roll call. The only changes that I'm aware of are what I discussed with, I sent Chair Hyland an email on Friday, I believe it was, about a case that was postponed. Other than that, I don't know of any other agenda changes.
Okay. Didn't you just get another?
That was for something else.
I'm sorry.
166.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was for something else. That was my error.
Okay, that wasn't for today then.
Yeah, that's not for today. It's for another meeting.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Shall I read item 2?
Yes, please.
Adoption of the minutes for the October 12, 2020 Education Outreach and Training Committee meeting. Do you have any changes or corrections? Or I have a copy of the minutes right here. If anybody has any changes.
Yeah, I'm looking at them. I just want to acknowledge that some members of the public sent in some email changes. Are you in receipt of that, Cheryl?
Anonymous?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. I got them this afternoon.
Okay, let's go ahead and read that into the record because we'll probably accept with those changes.
All right. I have to pull up my email.
Okay. Member Padmanabhan, any changes that are jumping out at you?
No, none that I can think of, that I can see.
Okay. The only thing I'll add, Cheryl, is for items where we ask respondents to prepare things, like in the case of, let's see. Scrolling down here. Let's see.
Number 7.
Yes, I think that's one of them.
Mr. Hillier?
Yeah, so I also noted to have that before it moves to the next stage. So, when it goes to the full task force, I want to make sure that document is in place and part of the package. That's important because we've had, several cases that have gone to the full task force that are not complete. So it's not just a question of us asking him for that. That needs to be complete in order to, go to the full task force. And Bruce needs to see that in our minutes to then know that piece is, will signify that item is complete to move up. Likewise, with anonymous versus, I think it was John Cote was asked to provide a response to section 67.24B2. So he's usually on top of that, make sure that response is in before it goes to the next stage. I just want to, I did mention that, and that didn't make it quite into the minutes. Jaya, do you remember that, me saying that?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. So it's really just a cue for Chair Wolf to know that these items are packaged completely and ready to go to the full task force, because we're really trying to work on streamlining stuff to get them absolutely packaged and ready, and not have, plaintiffs not show up, not have documents missing, etc. Because the time of the task force is precious. All right. Did you find that note from Anonymous?
I thought we were talking about Mr. Hillier. Anonymous?
Yeah. So let me read it into the record in case you don't have it.
Okay, hang on. I gotta make a note of this.
Okay. So. So this was EOTC October 12th minute suggestions. I'll read it into the record. For the minutes that will be reviewed this week, a minor correction in file 21086. The name is Miss Lynn should be Miss Lim, L-I-M, and Mr. Balco should be Mr. Balco, B-A-L-K-O. So I read it into the record. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes with those edits.
Yes, I did get those emails, and yes, I made those changes.
Oh, you've already made them into the.
I already made them. Yes.
Fantastic. Okay. Well, then I take back my motion, rescind my motion. Wasn't a second anyway. So really, just a note. I think it's important what we say goes into the minutes. So in each case, those two files, I asked, John Cote's response be complete before it moves to the next stage, and Mr. Hillier's Excel spreadsheet be received by you before it goes to the full committee. So if we could, I'll make a motion to put those two lines in, and then I'm happy to approve with those changes. I'm happy to repeat that when you're ready, Cheryl, if you like.
We need to have John Cote's response be clear.
So I'm gonna dictate to you what should be in the minutes. So okay. All right. So under item 4, the committee referenced Administrative and Sunshine Ordinance 6720 and requested the respondent to provide a response regarding the code section, comma, and once received, forward to the full task force. How about that?
Under item 4, the committee referenced and requested that the respondent provide the response for the code section, and once received, forward to the full task force.
Well, I'm just reading off the minutes you have there. I'm just adding a little bit to that sentence, so I'll read it again.
Yeah.
The committee, so you don't have to change any of this. The committee referenced Administrative Code Sunshine Ordinance 67.24B2 and requested the respondent to provide a response regarding the code section, comma, and once received, forward to the full SOTF, to the full task force. So, comma, and once received, forward to the full task force.
Okay. And that's item 4 of last month's minutes.
And then item 7. Very last sentence. Chair Highland requested that Mr. Hillier provide a summary of all allegations of violations, including dates, onto an Excel spreadsheet and tie it to the Sunshine Ordinance. Once received,
Yeah.
actually, you know what? Let me put it under the action. That'd be more appropriate. Under the action, the bolded section, Excel spreadsheet, outlining index of allegations, violations, and once received, forward to the full task force. Same word. I just don't want these to get to the task force without those responses. That's all.
Yeah.
And it's really, more for Chair Wolf to see that that's due. Okay, so with those two changes, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I just have a question
Sure.
regarding Anonymous's changes. It was Lim and Balco, but I don't see that anywhere. So what was he referencing?
It's in the minutes and it was updated. It should have been updated online. Maybe.
So what items were they? Is I think what Jaya's asking.
Right.
That's a good point. Let's see. In the email, he says file 21086. So
2186. Okay,
did we have a 21086?
Yes.
we do.
There it is.
Oh, Miss Lynn and Balco. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, it's still incorrect.
It's
So-
still incorrect, yes.
Yeah,
Online? It's incorrect online?
it's incorrect online. Yes.
Because I did make those changes. Okay, yeah, that was very familiar to me. I did make those changes. I will update what's online.
Okay. Well, we're working off this document, which is what members of the public got. So I think I'm going to review. I'm going to redo my motion to include those two edits and then the two pieces I gave you. So that's my motion to approve with those edits, all 4 edits.
And I second that.
All right. So Cheryl, when you're ready, let's have some public comment on those changes.
Do we have public commenters?
Anonymous number 3.
I would like to make public comment on general public comment.
That sir is coming up in the next item, so just hold on. We'll let you know when that happens, but it'll be item 3, which follows this item.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, Cheryl, we have one anonymous.
One anonymous. Sir, are you ready?
I am.
Go ahead.
Thank you very much. I would only say that if this is now a prerequisite hearing back from the city attorney's office, that John Cote no longer works in the city attorney's office, and so I would ask that the administrator do email the new John Cote, who works for David Chu, and that it's a new person who represents for the SOTF. So to please email them, otherwise this will just get lost in limbo, the anonymous versus city attorney case. Thank you.
That's a good point. And Cheryl, give them a time frame too. Give them they've got let's say 2 weeks. I think that's reasonable to respond to that. I don't want this to be an excuse for them to drag it out and not get this to the full task force. Anonymous, do you think is that a fair time period for someone?
Yeah,
coming?
that's totally fair.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So Cheryl, find out who the new John Cote is and ask them. They have 2 weeks to respond. They'll have to get up on this case and tell them it's going to be at the full task force in the within the next month, and they have 2 weeks to get this response.
Yeah, just to let you know, I think I already know who the new public relations officer is going to be. I think it's Ali Saperstein, because I've been told to send emails to her. That's who I think it is. I haven't heard anything otherwise.
Great. Okay. Thanks for that. All right. Any other public comment on this approval of the minutes? Hearing none, public comment is now closed. Let's take a roll.
Just a second. Chair Hyland?
Aye.
Chair Hyland, aye. Member Padmanabhan?
Aye.
Member Padmanabhan, aye. Moved by Chair Hyland, second by Member Padmanabhan to approve the minutes with all 4 suggested edits. And to contact the new city attorney public relations officer. Do you want to include that?
No, you have that. You have that instruction separately, so that doesn't
Yeah.
need to be part of the
Okay.
motion.
Shall we move on to item 3, public comment?
Yes, please.
Item number 3, public comment. Members of the public may address the Education Outreach and Training Committee on matters that are within the committee's jurisdiction but not on today's agenda.
I'd like to make public comment, please.
Okay, sir, we've got you in the queue. Anybody else?
Is there a way of identifying you, sir? Are you an anonymous speaker?
I'd like to identify myself, of course. This is Michael Petrellis.
Hello, Michael.
Hi.
Do we have other general public commenters?
Anonymous number 3.
Do we have other general public commenters? I'd like to start a queue if we do.
Just the 2 that I heard.
All right.
Anonymous
Yep.
3.
Mr. Petrellis, you ready to begin?
Yes. This is Michael Petrellis. I have 2 points. The first is I am very happy and grateful that San Francisco still has this Sunshine Ordinance task force. And as always, I salute the volunteers who serve as members on this important body. The second thing I want to say is that in the past few months, I've been doing sunshine work with the governor and other politicians in the state of South Dakota. Unfortunately, the state has a very weak sunshine law, and many friends that I have made on social media from South Dakota, when they learn about our task force, they all wish that they had a similar body across South Dakota to hold their politicians accountable. So I encourage them to use whatever tools they have in South Dakota to get documents out of their government and to share those documents on the web. That's all. Thank you.
Anonymous number 3, are you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you very much. This is anonymous number 3. I had a few things to say. One actually was about if you do make a similar motion this time asking something from the respondent, it was just to add a specific deadline in the motion so that a respondent can never prevent a case from going to the full task force. Because basically, if the respondent doesn't want to give the information, well, then I think your rules say you take the inferences and assumptions against them. So at some point, it should go forward. The other 2 things are something I sent an email. I'm just going to read them out here. If any cases are related to the COVID order, emergency orders, I do hope your motions today include the references to the CPRA Government Code 6253C. If an appropriate response, and that response has various legal requirements, was not provided within 10 days or 24 days after an extension, or if the records were not provided in a, quote, prompt manner under 6253B. And I think if your motions to the full task force say that, it'll make it much easier to have the right references at the full task force. And I will also say, I believe this also happened at the last full task force meeting. that if the initial committees can correct these agenda captions or the complaint captions to actually match exactly who the complainant put on the complaint, I think it would also be more fair to all parties. If additional people are being added who weren't stated by the original complainant, that's not really fair to the respondents. And if not all the people are being named, some of whom were named by the original complaint, that's not really fair to the complainant. And that is it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And to respond to Anonymous 3, yeah, usually we do throw in a time requirement there, and that was an omission on my part as chair. Usually I give them a reasonable amount of time to produce those documents, and we'll certainly tighten things up going forward. That's a good suggestion. Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to make public comment at this point? Press *6 to unmute yourself if you'd like to make public comment. Hearing none, public comment is now closed. We can move to the next item, please.
Item number 4, file number 21101, complaint filed by Liza Morosky against the Department of Public Health for allegedly violating Administrative Code Section 6715 and 6721 by failing to provide meeting minutes upon request and failing to respond to a public records request in a timely and or complete manner.
Hello?
Are the parties here? Do we have Ms. Morosky?
Liza Morowski is here, yes, present.
Okay, great. Do we also have the respondent? I believe that's Christina Padilla. This is file number 21101, complaint filed by Liza Morosky against the Department of Public Health. Do we have a respondent present? Someone from the Department of Public Health?
Hi, can you hear me? This is Christina from Department of Public Health.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
So, Cheryl, let me jump in real quick. I'm a little confused because online I'm seeing this file 21101 versus Ann Quaintance and Conrad House, and then the next paragraph I'm seeing against DPH. So
Ann Quaintance is the contact at Conrad House that Ms. Morosky had been trying to get information from. She and Conrad House is under the umbrella of the Department of Public Health, so that's why DPH was noticed.
Okay, but going back to the original complaint, that we should make sure that's all our ducks are lined up correctly, whether it's DPH, Ann Quaintance and Conrad House, or all the above. I'd like to get clarity on that. Jaya, did you see? I'm looking at the original complaint.
We did that because Conrad House is a not-for-profit, but they are under like I said, under the umbrella of the Department of Public Health. That's why Victor and I talked about this.
Okay. But we should.
Chair Highland.
Yes.
This is Victor. I think we need to clarify during this hearing who the original request was made to. Was it made to Public Health or was it made to Conrad House? Because if it was made to Conrad House, that's a 12L, and it would be out of our jurisdiction at this point in time. So that's part of the clarification we need to figure out. Who is the respondent in this case?
I agree, and I think I think in previous cases with Ms. Morowski, we came up against this, right, Jaya? And I think. Hold on, Ms. Morowski. We'll ask you when we're ready. Hold on, we're deliberating right here. We'll call on you if needed.
There was an email from Cheryl to Liza Morowski, kind of trying to clarify that. I believe, Cheryl, do you recall that you said this falls under the purview of 12L?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm reading that. This is on page 13 of our packet.
Yeah.
It is suggested the complainant be notified of the provision of Administrative Code 12L and that the complaint be referred to the DPH as the most likely city department who administers the contract with Conrad House. Complaint attached. I'm reading on page 14 here. And Mr. Young, so you're saying if this is strictly versus 12L, then we'll have to make a jurisdictional decision?
Yes. If it is the 12L issue, I don't believe the task force would have jurisdiction. The complaint should be filed with DPH, and they would have to respond. If there's an issue with DPH's response, then they could come to the task force, and we could discuss DPH's response.
Okay. All right. So we're dealing strictly with DPH. They have representative here, and that's how we're going to move forward. Okay. So file number 2. So all right. Complaint filed by Lisa Morawski against DPH. Okay. There we go. That's all we need. That's what we're going to go forward with. Okay. All right. So Ms. Morawski, we're going to give you 5 minutes to tell us about this case. And this is a new case, correct? This is not.
Yes, this is a new case. She's already had a case heard from 2020.
I do remember that. Okay. All right. So when you're ready, Cheryl, let's go ahead.
Ms. Morawski, are you ready?
I am, thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
In the rebuttal received from Conard Mental Health, the CEO states that this is the first time of hearing this complaint or request, stating that they are exempt from releasing this information because they are a private nonprofit. However, this has already been established by DPH and the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force that Conard is contracted out by DPH and Behavioral Health Services and provides HUD subsidized services. Conard states that I'm not allowed to have privy to the public board meeting minutes, and I find that strange when I have obtained them in the past. It is clear that the CEO of Conard, which is a nonprofit that owns the Jordan apartment, does not believe we as residents be advised of the construction and the completion dates of the RAD conversion. The RAD conversion stands for Rental Assistance Demonstration. To begin the conversion, over $400,000 was granted to the Jordan in 2017, yet little has been changed or improved. RAD was created to create a subsidized low-income building and offer the residents a choice mobility voucher. Conrad House has not complied with the agreements made with the Jordan residents in 2017, nor has the work been completed in over 4 years and is far from completion. In your packet, you'll notice that the Jordan has also numerous violations from the Department of Building Inspections on the quality of work, the permit and permit compliance. According to the HUD and RAB website, it indicates that the main goal of RAD is to secure Section 8 housing to improve the living conditions of residents. It states that residents may receive a mobility choice voucher after 1 year. According to the custodian of records, the Department of Public Health does not show the Jordan Apartments listed as a RAD conversion. This is a funding problem under DPH nor under the Housing Authority. According to the RAD conversion website, it quotes residents can ask about impacts in their rents, repairs of property, and also states participating in RAD resident meetings throughout the RAD process is the best way to ensure that your resident voice is heard. Jordan and Conrad Inc. continue to deny us the right to a tenant council or to give us abreast of the construction dates, completion dates, or any work to be done in the unit. This is at the cost of unhealthy and dangerous living conditions. They were just served with another hearing, and unfortunately, I did not get the evidence in time to submit it. So it's clear that this information is being denied to us for several years. we have the right to know what is going on, especially when the construction is happening and we're not being relocated. I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anybody in support of the petitioner would like to speak at this juncture? Hearing none, we'll go to the respondent.
Ms. Padilla, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
And Ms. Padilla, before you start, are you Veronica Vienne's replacement?
Yes, I am currently serving as the custodian of records, the interim custodian of records until there is a new hire.
I understand. Okay. All right. And I think you've served in that role in the past.
I have. I've been in this role for about a month.
Okay, but I'm saying, have you acted as a custodian of records for another department or for this department in the past? Your name sounds familiar. No? Okay, no. Must be another Padilla. No. All right. Okay, go ahead. You have 5 minutes to respond.
Great, thank you. I'm going to provide a timeline from the request that we received. On June 9th, 2021, DPH received a public records request from Liza Morawski via email asking for some records about information conducted by Conard House. The custodian of records at that time conducted a search within DPH and found 0 responsive records. That custodian of records has left the organization, but I took a look at her notes that she left behind, and it looks like she had checked in with our Associate Director of Community Behavioral Health Services, and he does not have any of these documents. I don't believe DPH has these records. And so on June 16, DPH responded, let the requester know that we had finished conducting the diligent search. We found no documents responsive to the request and therefore closed it at that time.
Okay, and is that response in our package? Do you happen to know what page that's on? I'm seeing another response on page 93, but Jaya, do you see that response?
I saw a response from Conard House saying that they were a public, they were a private body. I don't recall seeing Ms. Padilla's. I do recall noting that there were no responsive records. So
okay, Ms. Padilla.
Has her statement finished? Because I got the clock on.
Yeah, let's go ahead and is that the end of your statement?
Yes, thank you.
Great. Okay. Is anyone in support of the respondent? Hearing none, the matter is now before us. So, quick question from Ms. Padilla: is that something you wrote, or was that an email? And did that make it into our package that you know of?
That this is something I wrote, and I don't believe it's in the package.
Okay, so when you respond, so this is something you'll probably learn when you're interim. When you respond, always make sure to copy our clerk, Ms. Leger, so it becomes part of the continuing conversation. That way, we will have a record of it, and it will be in the package for us to also read along.
Great.
Okay, and when did you send that response to Ms. Morawski?
That response was back in June. It was June 16, 2021.
Okay.
She submitted the request June 9th, and we responded June 16.
Okay, that's great. That's very timely. All right. Jaya, any initial questions?
Yes. For Ms. Padilla. So I understand you did a search within the Department of Public Health. Did you contact Conard House for the records?
From the notes that I have from the previous custodian of records from June, I don't believe there was there was any contact to Conrad House at that time. At least not that I was aware of.
Okay. And why did the custodian believe that those records would exist with the Department of Public Health?
I believe it was her thinking that the documents that are being requested should live within the Department of Public Health.
Okay. But finding none, no further actions.
Ms. Padilla, quick question. You may not know the answer to this. Actually, maybe you do. Does Conrad House's email server sit on the DPH? Is it a separate body? Would you know the answer to that?
I think it's separate. It's not. They're a private nonprofit organization that provide supportive housing services. So they're not part of the city and county of San Francisco.
Okay, but they're on contract to DPH, correct?
They are a recipient of a grant from San Francisco.
Got it. Okay. And they don't share any office space with you or anything like that?
No, they do not.
Okay, great. I have memories of silos from past cases dancing in my head. I don't know if that rings a bell, but anyway, trying to separate the different bodies and where they are. And this is something we have come across the last few years, the whole 12L distinction, that fine line. This one appears to be a bona fide 12L, so that's somewhat interesting. There is actually a response from Louise Fu on page 93, on which Conrad House is copied. Which is interesting, but all right, to acknowledge receipt of your emails of August 25th and subsequent reminder emails in which you requested that Conrad House remove the tower. That's a different matter. That's not a document request. That's not really something that pertains to us, I don't think.
Excuse me, may I get some clarity? This is Liza.
Yes, go right ahead, Ms. Morawski. Go ahead.
So in a previous hearing or meeting with the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force, I believe it was understood that Conrad is contracted under DBH and offers mental health services under BHS. This is why I brought it to you. So they are funded and contracted by DPH. We discussed this, and this is why it was sent to them initially, then it was sent to Veronica. This case right now is only from 2021. You're confusing. The Tarasoff is another record that they didn't send to me. The other records are the client to case management ratio. So this is strictly about them not giving us the information on funds given to this fund to do construction, to change the refrigerators and stoves and all the sustainable housing. And they have not done that. And they refuse to tell us when it will be completed. And they are 4 years into it. And the Department of Building Inspections has them listed as a nuisance. And the second question is they have blocked records from public record in the past. So when I asked for the meeting minutes for the Conrad Public Board meeting, they denied them to me. And I'm just curious why they're denying them now when I have had them in the past. Does that make any more clarity?
Yeah, a little bit. The Tarasoff letter was in there, and it's a bit misleading and confusing, but it looks like they're responding to you throwing that in as well. That's what kind of threw me off. But basically, in a nutshell, and Jaya, correct me if I'm wrong, she's requesting meeting minutes and other documents of Conrad House, which is a 12L. That's where I'm getting stuck on. That's an issue for us in terms of jurisdiction, right? Now, DPH can ask them to provide it, and then DPH can be the one to provide it to the petitioner. And they're saying, we can't find any, we don't have any, they don't have any.
Well, they didn't say
Chair
they don't.
Hyland.
Yeah.
They don't.
Go ahead, Jay.
This is Victor.
Hold on, Victor. Member Padmanabhan was talking.
Okay.
I was just saying that they said that they don't have any. They don't know if Conrad House has any of the records.
Okay. Victor, was that your comment?
Actually, I just want to note that if you read closely in the 12L, there's a limit on what nonprofits are required to provide under 12L, which is normally limited to financial information, budgets, reports, and that type of information. If you bring up 12L in the codes, you can read it for yourself. But that's just a general statement.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I do believe Ms. Mirowski did ask for financial information too.
Yeah, she did. So because that's what she's asking for, it's pretty clear in our charter that we can't ask for that. And therefore, this may not be something we can help you with, Ms. Mirowski. And that's kind of where I'm leaning on this.
So they don't have to tell us what they're doing with the funds that we signed a contract in order to do our rental lease on. They're getting money from the city and the state and the Department of Public Health to change the building to make it.
Let me stop you there. This might be something that you can pursue through other legal means, but I'm not sure it's falling in our purview. That's kind of where I'm on this, and I think Member Padmanabhan is on this as well. I mean, I'm going to try and.
I'm a little unclear about that, Chair Hyland. Under 12L, it says, so there are, so these contracted entities need to have 2 public meetings. Was this a public meeting? We don't know.
It was.
It was a public meeting. In that case, then they need to provide the information, or DPH needs to procure the information. They don't need to provide anything. I think DPH does.
Okay.
So I think DPH, I mean, it's unclear whether the meetings were public, whether the meeting in question was a public meeting. So there are 2 parts to this. One is the meeting minutes, and the second is the financial documents. And
I'm not so concerned about the financial documents. The work on the building is a time frame that they pay into the city. It's a fund, RAD conversion. And so all that money, $400,000, and our buildings are not changing, and it's under it's doing the opposite. It's under hearings with the Department of Building Inspection. So are we just supposed to live in dangerous and unhealthy conditions without any foresight when they have sent us? If you look at your evidence pack, they have sent us documents before. They have taken measurements of like refrigerators and your cabinets and saying this was going to be done, this was going to be done. The floor in the basement has to be relaid 3 times because it was done without a proper permit. So we're not allowed to have any of these records? When it clearly states, when I said in my 5-minute speech that RAD, you are to include the residents You are vested in the residents, and yet we are told, no, you don't get any information at all. I have included the hearings from the board of the Department of Building Inspections. This is clearly under DPH. I'm not asking for any financial records. I want to know what we signed as a lease to do a RAD conversion demonstration. That means to change the property. It listed very quite clearly. The properties are typically not funded at 100%. This was before RAD. After RAD, properties are placed on a more stable Section 8 funding platform. Before RAD, in public housing, PHAs cannot borrow money. After RAD, owners can more easily borrow money and perform rehabilitation work. Before RAD, the funding fails to keep up with the deteriorating living conditions. After RAD, the living conditions of residents are improved. Before RAD, residents cannot choose to move without losing housing. After RAD, residents may receive a tenant-based voucher or similar. After 1 year.
Okay, Ms. Borowski, I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop.
More money. And
Ms. Borowski,
nothing
okay.
has been improved.
Ms. Borowski, okay,
Yes.
we get the gist. I'm going to turn this to Ms. Padilla. Are there any documents that substantiate any of this? Let's start with that. Let's get to the heart of the matter. Are there any budgets or action items or documents that DPH uses in its business with Conard House? Can you answer that?
When our custodian of records checked with our director of community behavioral health services, there were no records. That was in June.
And what kind of search did you perform?
Reached out. I don't know that I have that level of detail of information. I know that she reached out to him and looked through their files.
I mean, I'd be more comfortable if there were some redacted records provided or something, right? But just to say there's nothing to do with this $400,000 allocation, that just doesn't seem right to me.
I agree.
There's no, audit trail. There's no, even if it's a light item in a document and you redact the rest, give the petitioner that. So I'm not convinced they looked hard enough, searched properly enough, or any of the above. I mean, these are city actions requiring financial transactions, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay, and I know you're new on the job, but we need someone here that can answer that exact question. And if and when we send this to the full task force, we're going to require you and someone that can answer that question be present, because we're not getting a clear answer at this point. I'm not anyway.
Got it. That makes sense.
Should we move to rebuttals here and then get a little public comment? What do you think?
I mean, we'll have rebuttals, make a motion, and make a public comment.
Let's get rebuttal first, and then we'll decide on a motion.
Okay. First would be the respondent. Is that correct?
Yes.
Ms. Padilla, are you ready to speak? You have 3 minutes.
So this is your opportunity to add anything else based on discussion so far to kind of wrap things up on your behalf.
Great, thank you. From our research, we don't have any responsive records, and that really is all we have to share today. Thank you.
Ms. Morosky, are you ready to begin your statement?
I think that I think I made myself clear on my asks. So thank you. May I just add one thing that
Yes, go ahead.
The Department of
Go ahead.
Public Health.
Hold on. Cheryl, start the clock, and this can be your statement.
Yeah. Are you ready?
Yes. I just find it a little upsetting that these are serious matters. These are people's lives and conditions, and the Department of Public Health has failed numerous times to show up. Not just for this one, and also twice for my last one. And that concerns me. This is both mental health and people with very, very low income being run by corporations and things and nonprofits and not having to have any oversight and accountability. And it needs to start coming out, and people need to have the truth of what they're living in and what they should expect and the mental health that they're receiving. This nonsense of the Department of Public Health having no representation on these serious matters concerns me in San Francisco, especially this time and date. Thank you. I yield the rest of my time.
Thank you. Member Palmer, what are your thoughts?
I do feel that the Department of Public Health did not assist the petitioner at all in finding the records. So at least in that regard, I do think that there is jurisdiction and that we can send it to the task force.
I agree.
Member Padmanabhan, are you making a motion?
Yes, I can go ahead and make a motion. I move to find that Sunshine Task Force has jurisdiction and that the requested records are published. And to refer the matter to the SOTF for hearing with the recommendation that we find a violation of Administrative Code, I think 67.20.21C.
I agree with that. If you would just maybe add to your motion jurisdiction over DPH, I think we should state that.
Yes, jurisdiction over DPH.
I'll second that motion. And Cheryl, when you're ready, let's have some public comment on that.
Do we have public commenters for the motion? Do we have public commenters for the motion?
Hit *6 to unmute yourself to get in the public comment queue, please.
Chair Wall, sorry, I keep saying that. Chair Hyland?
Yes.
While we're waiting for public comment, I was just wondering, is there anything you want to direct the public health to look for specifically? Or any additional search that you want them to do?
Yeah, I was going to do that after we got public comments and the motion passed, but yeah, I'm still thinking about that, and I'm still reading 12L2 here, and I want to direct the full task force that as well. So still working on that, but let's get the motion squared away. All right, we're not hearing any public comment on this motion. Let's go ahead and take a roll.
Member Padmanabhan?
Aye.
Member Padmanabhan, aye. Chair Hyland?
Aye.
Chair Hyland, aye. Moved by Member Padmanabhan, seconded by Chair Hyland to find that there is jurisdiction over the Department of Public Health, the records are public, and to refer the matter to the task force with a recommendation for a violation of 6721C. Did I miss something?
No, that sounds pretty thorough to me. And Jai, was that the correct part of the code that you wanted to reference? Okay,
Yes.
great. I see you nodding.
Okay, great. Are we ready for the next item?
No, not yet. And I do want to send some direction to DPH to provide, an interim custodian records is fine, but we need someone in the department, preferably the department head, that can show up and answer questions about budgets and audit trails of this nature of requests. So I don't know is not going to be good enough. And Jai, I do want to take a stab at asking them for a specific document that, the problem is trying to put our finger in is what is that document? What's it called? I think that's a good suggestion from our clerk.
I think one of the records requested was the board, the meeting minutes for May 2021, and then the financial audits, tax return, and budget.
Okay, let's throw that detail in. That's basically part of the original request. So, Ms. Padilla, we're asking you to go back and have someone searching that again with a little more detail.
Yeah.
And if you can, and help the petitioner find that. So we're going to ask that question again in the full task force.
Okay,
So
thank you.
Yourself, maybe your director of budgets or finance or department head should be there with you. And do we want to put a timeline on this now, Jaya? Like, let's do a proper, bona fide search in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And report to our clerk.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do we want to amend the motion then?
Nope. This is just a directive to DPH. So, Ms. Padilla, are you clear on what we're asking of you?
Yes, I heard. Thank you so much.
All right. Okay. And then also for the full task force, just reference 12L2 for them to read up on that when this does come to the full task force. Maybe in your staff notes, Cheryl.
I'm typing it in right now.
Great. We've had several of these 12L cases in the last couple of years, so. And with respect to DPH, down to BHS, down to Conard, that relationship, I'm sure we're going to untangle all of that a little bit at the full task force.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay.
So right into my notes, Chris.
Great, no problem. Whenever you're ready, once that's all down, we can go to the next item. But take your time and make sure we get that all in there, because that'll help direct the full task force.
You are requesting that public health provide records. However, you need a department head to explain the budget and audit requests and ask for meeting minutes of May 20, 2021, and tax returns and budget, and ask that the information be provided to the task force administrator in 2 weeks. And to have before the task force a reference to 12L.2 and read that section into the minutes when the task force meets.
Not quite, no.
No?
So, yeah, so take out the department head. Department head is going to be requested at the full task force meeting, or a representative knowledgeable about what we're requesting, okay? So
Yeah.
that's a separate part. So the request we have right now is for Ms. Padilla to run with this request, search again, and get other people to help her to either find the answers or identify the documents and help the petitioner find those documents. So we want to continue the search properly for those 3 things that we listed. At the full task force meeting, we're expecting Ms. Padilla or whoever is serving as custodian of records and the department head or someone knowledgeable with the financial dealings of DPH, BHS, Conard House. Separately, for your staff notes, please just put a note for them to refresh their readings on 12L.2 to give background on this case.
Okay.
And you can go back to the recording and read that, because I think I summarized it pretty clearly there.
Yep.
This is Victor Young. Can I suggest that Cheryl just add a copy of the 12L section into the packet itself?
That'd be great. Good suggestion. Thank you, Victor. All right. Thank you, Mr. Morawski.
Sorry, I didn't hear that, Chair Hyland.
I said thank you to Ms. Morawski for attending. And
Yes.
we can move on to the next item.
All right. Item number 5, file number 21124, complaint filed by Mark Norton and the Department of Public Health for allegedly violating Administrative Code Section 6721 by failing to respond to a public records request in a timely and or complete manner. This is the first time this case has been heard.
Okay.
I need to go get my charger, so could you excuse me for just 30 seconds?
Sure. So we don't have quorum right now, so we're going to have to just pause. So Cheryl, just pause the meeting.
Yeah, but I can't pause the recording.
Okay. All right. So we're officially pausing the OTC till Member Padmanabhan is back on camera and on the meeting.
This is Liza. While you're posing, I just wanted to say thank you. I couldn't unmute myself fast enough, but I just wanted to acknowledge you. Thank you.
No problems. And if you receive any further information from Ms. Padilla in the interim, please, copy us on it so we know what's happening with this case. Meanwhile, we'll keep working on getting those answers for you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Okay. I see Member Padmanabhan back on, so the meeting is back on. Is Mr. Mark Norton with us?
I am here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Fantastic. Okay. And Ms. Padilla, are you representing DPH in this matter as well?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Okay, fantastic. All right. We have everyone present. So, Mr. Norton, we're going to give you 5 minutes first to tell us about your case, followed by Ms. Padilla, and then we'll discuss it very much like we did the last case. Are you ready?
I am ready. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Cheryl will give you the go-ahead when she's ready to start the clock.
You ready, sir?
I'm ready.
Go ahead.
So, last April, I submitted a request to the Department of Public Health, and I'll read it exactly what I asked for. It was any and all written documents between the city and the Giants, Warriors, or Bon Appetit regarding reopening protocols at Oracle Park or Chase Center. In case anybody here is not a sports fan, Oracle Park is where the Giants play. Chase Center is where the Warriors play. Bon Appetit is a subcontractor that provides food concession services at both stadiums. And I work for Bon Appetit, which is one of the reasons I made that request. So I made that request in April. Months went by, it became September, and I had gotten exactly nothing, despite some, repeated requests for something coming. And I got nothing. So in September, I filed this complaint with the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force. A few days later, the Department of Public Health released a number of documents to me, and then closed the case, closed my request. But when I looked at the documents they released, they were all about Chase Center, where the Warriors play. There was exactly nothing about Oracle Park, which is, preposterous. So I got back in touch with DPH and said, what's going on? Where's the Oracle Park stuff? At that point, they reopened my case, my request, and then a few days later supplied another bunch of documents. And that was all good, except for how long it took. But then when I looked at the latest set of documents they gave me, unlike what they had released with respect to Chase Center, which had documents that were, stretched way back into last year and up to the present time, the documents that they gave me for Oracle Park basically ended in May of this year. There were a couple of things after that, but they were not particularly germane or relevant. In the last request, the last document I got in May, for May was a statement from the Department of Public Health to the Giants saying that they were going to review their request to change the protocols in a very significant way, and that was to stop asking fans to show proof of vaccination or provide a negative test. And that's it. Clearly, there was discussion after that between the Giants and the ballpark, and between the Giants and DPH, I should say. But I have no documents whatsoever about any of that. And clearly my request has not been fulfilled in a complete manner. So that's what I'm looking for. The rest of those documents about Oracle Park between DPH and the Giants. Right, I keep saying that wrong. Between DPH, between DPH and the Giants.
Okay, thank you. Is that the end of your statement, Mr. Norton?
Yes.
Okay. Is anybody here to speak on behalf of the petitioner? Hearing none. Cheryl, let Ms. Padilla know when you're ready.
Ms. Padilla, are you ready to begin?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Go ahead, ma'am.
On April 22nd, SFDPH received a public records request from Mark Norton seeking any and all written documents between the city and the Giants, Warriors, or Bon Appetit regarding reopening protocols at Oracle Park or Chase Center. I read off his request in the same way he did. This became public records request 211698 for us. That previous custodian of records that was managing this request left, and the same way Mr. Norton said, he did not receive anything at that time. Mr. Norton reached out on September 16th by way of the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force to complete this complaint, and that was the first time I heard of it. At that time, I did a search for records, and on September 25th, we provided 41 emails and 24 documents as responsive records to the request. Mr. Norton inquired that there should be additional documents. So we went back to the subject matter expert and inquired about any additional records. The people I'd worked with are the city attorney's office. There were several people that were working with people from Oracle Park and Chase Center. And so they sent me additional records, at that time, they let me know that there were no more records. And so we uploaded additional 63 records on October 9th. So at this point, Mr. Norton has received more than 100 emails and responsive records related to his request. And I checked again with our city attorney's office, and there are no more records from the ones that they had provided. Thank you.
Okay, anybody in support of the respondent? Hearing none, matter is before us.
Question from Mr. Norton. This is Member Padmanabhan.
Okay.
You referenced Noel from Department of Public Health. Who is he?
I referenced who?
There's on September 24th, said you talked to someone called, we talked to someone who said that there were Oracle documents at the Department of Public Health.
I'm not sure what you're referring to. During this period, I was communicating in two ways with Department of Public Health. One was through my public records request. One was with the public information officer as inquiring as a journalist, because I'm also write about this stuff. So that my recollection is unclear, but that may have been who I was talking to in that respect, if that's helpful.
Okay, let's move beyond that. You also said that there were, the index was not complete.
Well, yes, the Ms. Padilla just read to you the response that she gave to the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force in response to my complaint. And when I looked at the rules, she was supposed to list all of the things that she gave. At least that was my understanding of the rules. And obviously she did not do that. Now she's telling you she's released 100+ documents, and that's true. But, you know, if I ask for something where there's 200 documents and I get 100, then obviously things haven't been properly released. Clearly, there are more documents, and her talking about how many she's released really doesn't go to the question of what hasn't been released. And that's why I'm here.
Mr. Norton, as of this day, you still haven't received the Oracle Park records that you believe to exist? Correct.
And I checked the website, you know.
The next request.
Hearing started, yeah.
Okay. All right. So first off, I'm just going to say I'm a little disappointed in DPH's transition, because, you know, we've had a couple of other cases that fell into this limbo where Veronica Vienne was apparently there, not there, leaving. Ms. Padilla, you're the happy recipient of all this work and these dropped balls, so to speak, puns intended, for the Chase Center. But anyway, so, you know, you guys got to work on your transition better, because having someone in custodian records is required by the law. So there definitely was a gap there from what I can see. Can you talk, Ms. Padilla, to the Oracle documents that Mr. Norton is referring to? Where are you on that search?
At this time, we don't think there are any additional records. We have done several searches through multiple people. All of the communications between both Chase Center and Oracle Park have occurred with the city attorney's office. So the city attorney's office put together quite a bit of documents, and that is what they sent to me. And so we feel like what Mr. Norton has in his possession is all all that is available.
Okay, let me ask, is there an index of what was sent to Mr. Norton? Like X amount of documents, or is there like an Excel spreadsheet?
It's all in next request, so I can find it all in there.
Okay, yeah, because it'd be very useful to have like a print, something in our package from next request, just not the actual documents, but just, there's 100 documents for the Chase Center and 2 documents for the Oracle Park, for instance. And that sounds very, if there's that many for one, why not an equal or more amount for the other one, would be my first question off the top of my head. And I think that's what Mr. Norton's position is.
And
So
I just found that email that referenced Noel from DPH told me on September 24th that DPH had an additional Oracle Park document that you have not provided to me. This is on page 125 of our package.
I'm looking at that as well. So this is from Mr. Norton to Ms. Padilla, Friday, October 1st.
Yes.
Noel from DPH told me on September 24th that DPH had additional Oracle Park documents that you have not provided to me. So it seems like those documents do exist, Ms. Padilla. And you're saying your response lower down on September, let's see, October 1st. Let's see, do you respond to this? Like, for instance, the health and safety plan. That's one thing you're waiting for, Mr. Norton. Is that right?
I'm not clear what I'm waiting for. I mean, I know it has to be additional documents, but I don't know what they are until I see them.
Understand. Those not speaking, please mute your microphones. *6. You can hear coffee in the background. Okay, so going to that 125. Page 125 email, Ms. Padilla, did you respond to those documents that Noel told Mr. Norton existed?
I
don't see a response.
I believe those are the ones that I sent after the fact on October 9th. On October 9th, I uploaded additional records.
Okay, just ballpark. You reference hundreds of records. How many for Chase? How many for Oracle Park? Can you tell us?
Yes. So the first batch that were uploaded September 25th, there was 65, and then the second batch were 63. So it's about the same for each one.
And when was the second batch uploaded?
October 9th.
Okay, so 9/26 and then 10/9. Okay.
Yeah.
65 and 63. Mr. Norton, back to you. That seems reasonable to me, and the fact that there are a similar amount of documents, do you still feel that there's documents that you know about or suspect?
Clearly. Excuse me. Yes, I clearly think there are more documents, or I wouldn't be bothering you guys. Aside from the 2 minor documents that I got, the most recent document regarding Oracle Park was at the beginning of May. It was an email from DPH, not the city attorney's office, from DPH to the Giants saying, we've received your request to relax to get rid of the requirement that fans be checked for vaccine, show proof of vaccination or a negative test. We will consider that and get back to you. Clearly, they got back to them. Clearly, the protocol, its ballpark changed. The idea that this changed without anything in writing passing back and forth between the Giants and DPH, if that's the case, then it's not a Sunshine Ordinance Task Force thing. It's a gross miscarriage of whatever. But clearly there was further documents, and those seem to be the documents that DPH and perhaps the Giants don't want us to see.
Okay. Going back to the first batch that was uploaded on September 26th regarding Chase Center. What was the date range? And it sounds like you're
From
satisfied.
April, yeah, I mean, went from last year, 2020. It was about, it included stuff about, protocols before the place was even open to fans. Just about the team itself.
Okay.
And it went all the way up till, very current. Unlike
And then
documents that I received about Oracle Park.
And what's the date range on Oracle Park? You said that it stops at May.
As I said, the last one of significance was at the beginning of May 3rd or May 5th. And there were two other documents after that, but they were of minor significance.
May 2021.
Correct.
Okay. So going forward, when you do records requests, try and put some date ranges into what you put, because going back to what you actually asked for, requested any and all written documents between the city and the Giants were from the date of this request going forward or going back, or a date range, because that would help us. But I'm in agreement with you. So, I would like, again, Ms. Padilla to go back and look at everything from, let's say, May of 2021 till present date, the last 6 months, and run that search again, because it does seem odd to me that those documents are just not there. And you did say documents of any merit, but did they send you what documents did they send you that do have recent dates for Oracle Park?
I'd have to look. If you want me to take the time to do that, I can. But
no, but
it's part of the problem is that the documents that they sent, you asked for, does she have a list? Well, I have a list too. Here's the list: 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7. I have to open each and every document to even figure out what it is, much less what the date is. Mm-hmm. So their list is sort of fairly useless, other than coming up with how many documents I got.
Okay.
And they're not chronological either, so I can't just go to the last one and say here's the most recent one.
Yeah. Okay. Let me bounce this back to Ms. Padilla. Ms. Padilla, obviously, you're new in this role. For things that are voluminous like this, you can actually request an extension. You can ask them to do, better define the dates, and providing an index of documents, with the dates of those emails or whatever is very helpful for us and for you, going forward in your job. But it seems like, we need a further effort from May till present for the last 6 months. Is that something that you think you can go back and provide Mr. Norton?
Yes, I could do another search for starting the beginning of May, specific to Oracle Park.
Okay, and why don't you do May till let's say what is it now, November 9th? So May 1st to November 9th, and then, if you could index what you're going to send them, that'll help us when this gets to the full task force, just to show that you've made a bona fide effort to go back and get that information. Member Padmanabhan, anything you want to add?
And maybe respond to Mr. Norton's list of documents, where on page 25, he lists that he received documents 1 to 61, but there was no number 5, 13, and 31.
Yes, I think they were repetitive. I was going through and redacting, and as I was redacting the PHI, realized that there were repetitive ones, so I would remove them.
Okay, you just said the magic word, redacting. So when you redact, you have to provide a reason for redacting. Unfortunately, repetition is not that. City attorney client privilege is one. There's some other ones that you can do redactions, but you still have to reference why you're redacting. So that's something that you'll need to study up on, how and when to redact.
Yes, the redacting was done because there was the personal medical PHI. So it was when I was in the process of redacting the documents when I realized that there were repetitive emails, and so that's why there were some missing numbers.
Okay, and that's something you need to explain to the requester.
Okay.
The redactions, you need to get that down. So it sounds like you need a good index of what you're sending, why you're sending it, why it's redacted. That's good, bookkeeping, if you like, as far as records requests, and that'll keep you from appearing in front of us in the future.
Mhm.
All right, so I'm gonna revise my request to also provide details on redactions, which is standard operating procedure for records requests. It certainly seems like there's a timeliness violation here, Jaya, as well as, not producing all records, because I think clearly there are some more records that exist. So I think this, we can recommend this to the full task force with recommendations to look at those two violations.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and hear summary statements, and then we can close the motion. So we have 3 minutes, Mr. Norton, to Ms. Padilla first, to kind of summarize and give your closing statements, and followed by Mr. Norton. Ms. Leger, let them know when you're ready.
Yeah. Ms. Padilla, you ready to speak?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I understand that next steps for DPH are to do a new search for more responsive records starting the beginning of May into November 9th. And so we'll do that search moving forward. I'll index what I find, and I'll have some explanations regarding the redaction. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Norton, are you ready to speak?
Sure.
Go ahead, sir.
So I appreciate what Ms. Padilla just said. I'm looking forward to receiving the additional documents that I'm quite sure exist. I'm looking forward to seeing a better index of the documents that I've gotten and that I will get. The only other comment that I want to make is that both in this case and, excuse me, I was listening to the previous case, which also involved the DPH. Everybody heard that, Miss Veronica Vane is gone and now it's Miss Padilla, and so it's complicated figuring out what Miss Vane did and not what Miss Padilla is doing. I mean, that's all real, and I understand people are people and, things happen, but my complaint was not against Ms. Vane or against Ms. Padilla. It was against DPH. And DPH has a responsibility to have the staff in place to follow the law and to respond to requests in a timely fashion and in a complete fashion. So this isn't about Ms. Padilla. This isn't about Ms. Vane. It's about DPH. Thank you. I'm done.
Very good. Thank you. All right. Jaya, would you like to take a stab at a motion? If not, I can.
I was on mute. Yes, I move to find that the task force has jurisdiction and that the requested records are public, and to refer the matter to the full task force for hearing with the recommendation that the task force find a violation of Administrative Code 67.21. 7.25, is that?
Yep, I agree.
67.25 and 67.26, and maybe also 67.27, justification of withholding.
I agree. And we could tie in the instructions to DPH to run a new search, May 1st through 11th, 9th, an index of documents found, and justification for any redactions previous or in the future. If you're amenable to that.
Chair Hyland, my computer went out for a little bit there.
Ah, okay.
Can you
Sure.
repeat that? Yeah. So we've got recommended violation of, to find that the task force has jurisdiction to refer to the task force for hearing and recommend the task force find violations of 6721, 6725, 6721 being a records request, 6725 being an IDR, 6726 for 26 for I'm lost, and 6727 for justification for withholding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 6726 withholding kept to minimum, 6727 justification of withholding. And Jaya, did you say 6721? Maybe you cut out, then I didn't hear that. I just heard 25, 26. Okay.
25 is IDR and
Okay.
So 6721.
Yeah, 21, 25, 26, and 27. Okay. All right. I think that's a mouthful. Let's just leave that there. And you can note separate to the motion that DPH has been asked to run a search from May 1st to November 9th, 2021. Provide an index to previous searches and that new search, and to provide a list of redactions and reasons to the previous searches and to this time period, May 1st to November 9th.
It's May 1st, not May 29th?
May 1st, 2021 to 11/9/2021. And we're going to give you 30 days for that, Ms. Padilla. That's quite a lot of work.
Thank you.
If that's reasonable. Okay. So hopefully that, you'll have that in the package, or that to Mr. Norton, and he may, if he gets all that and he's happy with it, he can drop the case. If he still wants it to be heard at the full task force, that will happen as well.
Chair Hyland, you wanted to second that motion that Member Padmanabhan made?
Yes, but I'm adding amendments to it, which we can do that way, or I can just set that as a separate instruction from the chair. However you want to do that, Jaya. What do you think?
I think separate instructions from the chair would be good.
Okay, so I will second the motion that Member Padmanabhan made, 6, 7, 21, 25, 26, and 27. I second that motion.
Okay, great. Do we want to open it up to public comment now?
Sure.
Do we have any public commenters for the motion? This is public comment on the motion to forward to the task force? Helen, I'm not hearing anybody responding.
All right,
Sure.
no public comment. Let's take a roll.
Member Padmanabhan?
Aye.
Member Padmanabhan, aye. Chair Hyland?
Aye.
Chair Hyland, aye. Moved by Member Padmanabhan, seconded by Chair Hyland, to find that the task force has jurisdiction and refer to the task force for hearing and recommend that the task force find violations of 6721, 6725 for an immediate disclosure request, 6726 for withholding kept to a minimum, and 6727 for justification of withholding.
Okay, and then put a further note in there that DPH has been asked to and has agreed to provide an index of materials sent to this point, run a new search May 1st to November 9th for documents relating to the Oracle Park request, and provide any justifications of any redactions past or future, and that they will do that in 30 days.
Okay, got it.
All right.
Are we ready to move on to the next item?
Yes, please.
I'm just interrupting to say thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you, Mr. Norton. Thank you, Ms. Padilla.
Thank you.
Item number 6, file number 21096, complaint filed by Michael Petrellis against the District Attorney Chesa Boudin and the Office of the District Attorney for allegedly violating Administrative Code Section 6725 by failing to respond to an immediate disclosure request in a timely, general, complete manner.
I believe Mr. Petrellis is here. Are you still here, Michael?
I'm here,
All right.
and I'm ready to go whenever it's my turn.
Hold on one second. Is respondent here?
Yeah, Robin Burke is here.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name.
Robin Burke.
Hi, Robin. How are you? Okay. All right, we have both
okay.
who's here. Cheryl, let Mr. Petrellis know when you're ready.
Mr. Petrellis, are you ready to begin your statement? You'll have 5 minutes.
I am ready.
Go ahead, sir.
This is Michael Petrellis, and I filed 2 immediate disclosure requests with the DA's office in July. The first request was for the period July 8th to 12th, and the second period was from July 12th to July 15th. So that's about 8 days there. The records I requested were written communication, email, texts, WhatsApp messages, etc. Those were the documents I wanted, and I wanted them from the district attorney, Chesa Boudin, his chief of staff, David Campos, and the public information officer, Rachel Marshall. And I have received 2 batches of emails from David Campos. And I want to note that one of the reasons why the DA wanted me to narrow my request was because they would supposedly have to do a lot of redacting in all of these emails. Well, in about 650 pages of documents released to me from the David Campos account, not one thing is redacted. So I wonder, why do they say they're going to need a lot of time to do redacting when they have sent hundreds of pages with absolutely no redactions? So 2 batches from the Campos account. But in terms of in terms of text and other written documentation, received nothing from the Campos account, and no message about, well, are there no such documents? Unfortunately, with Chesa Boudin and Rachel Marshall, I have received nothing in response to my request. Absolutely nothing. And here we are. It's November. I have sent messages to, I believe Robin reads the emails that I respond to at SFDA Public Records, asking for updates and tell me when I'm going to get more Campos documents and when I'm going to get any documents from Chesa Boudin and Rachel Marshall, and have not received any responses. So that's the gist of what I'm complaining about. And I'd like for you guys to weigh in on this.
Is there anybody providing evidence in support of the petitioner? Hearing none, Ms. Leger, let Ms. Burke know when you're ready.
Ms. Berger, you ready?
I'm ready.
Go ahead.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate Mr. Petralis and his patience. I recognize this is a really long time to wait for these documents. We have been pretty overwhelmed with the number of public records requests that we've received, and the volume of records that are requested within each of those requests. And it's taking us a lot longer than we'd like to get information out. I have the next batch of emails just about ready to go out to Mr. Petralis, and they should go out tomorrow or the next day, just doing a final review to make sure that we haven't left in any information that we would need to withhold based on our attorney-client privilege and attorney work product and investigatory exemptions. And like I said, I hope to get these next batch out by the end of this week, and then the last one out by the end of next week. And as far as the redactions go, we have withheld a number of emails in their entirety based on our exemptions that I mentioned in my response to Mr. Campos, and also today, the attorney work product and investigatory exemptions that are provided to us as the district attorney's office. And so that's what was withheld, and that's all I have.
Is there anybody providing evidence on behalf of the respondent? Hearing none, the matter is before us.
I have a question for Ms. Burke. So the next batch that you're sending, is that part of, is that the rest of David Campos emails, or are they going to be of the other people mentioned?
The next batch will be the district attorney's emails.
And so you've already looked through them and you've redacted what you need to redact? And
I've done the first pass. I like to do a secondary pass just to make sure that we're not in violation of any of our requirements before I send things out.
But you know for a fact that there are more records remaining for David Campos.
For Mr. No, there should not be any more records remaining for Mr. Campos.
That's all I have.
Okay. I'm looking at your response on page 189. The timeline is very helpful, Ms. Burke. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Did you reach out to Mr. Petrellis and say you're going to provide records on a rolling basis and provide a schedule of when you think you did? Okay. And
I have not provided a schedule, but I did let him know that I'd be providing records on a rolling basis, and when I sent my last email with some records.
Okay. All right. Yeah, it's useful to try and also provide a schedule, although of course you tie yourself to that, but something that's reasonable is usually.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'll incorporate that in my next response.
Okay. Well, it sounds to me like this is, obviously there's an admission by the respondent on timeliness, but that they are working on it as we speak. So this looks pretty black and white to me. We'll be happy to hear your summaries. You have 3 minutes each, and then we can go from there. Jaya, are you ready for that?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So, Miss Burke, you would go first. Cheryl, let her know when you're ready.
Sorry, I was. Ms. Burke, are you ready to begin?
I'm ready.
Go ahead.
I just want to say thank you to the Sunshine Task Force and to Mr. Petrellis for bringing this about, and hopefully, as I said, we'll have this request complete within the next 2 weeks, and I will CC the Sunshine Task Force on my final responses to make sure that you're aware that the records have been sent.
Great, thank you.
Mr. Petrellis, are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay, I need to know what's going on with emails and other written communication for that time period from Rachel Marshall. I also need to know if no WhatsApp records were found, if there were absolutely no texts sent by the district attorney. This needs to be explained to me because my 2 requests were for lots of written communication, not just emails. So I want to know if the other written communication forms were not found, or if they were found, why I haven't received those records. I also think that it's a blot of shame on Chesa Boudin's record that it's taken months to get records from him, from his office related to David Campos. I still have nothing in hand all these months later from Chesa Boudin. He's a law enforcement official, and here he is just flouting the law, and I believe you should find him in violation of the appropriate sunshine statutes here. That's it.
Thank you. So I'll make a motion here to find jurisdiction. Refers to the full task force with recommendations for the violation of 6725. Failing to respond to an IDR in a timely or complete manner. But I will note that the respondent has promised the balance of this within 2 weeks. And Mr. Petrels, if you do indeed get it in 2 weeks, you're welcome to have this heard at the full task force or close it. That is your purview. Yeah, I think that's about all I'm going to put out now.
And I'll second that.
Okay. Cheryl, did you get that? So jurisdiction and a violation 6725. Recommendation 6725. I think we may have lost Cheryl.
Sorry, I've been coughing. I'm trying not to do that into the microphone.
No problems, no problems.
Ugh. Okay, moved by Chair Hyland, seconded by Member Padmanabhan to find jurisdiction, refer the matter to the task force with the recommendation to find a violation of 6725 for failure to respond to an IDR in a timely and or complete manner, but will note that the respondent has promised to provide the records within 2 weeks.
Very good. Okay, so we'll take public comment on that.
This is public comment on the motion to find jurisdiction. Do we have public commenters? This is public comment on the motion to find jurisdiction. Do we have speakers? Chair Hyland, I don't think we have anybody's ready to speak.
Okay, and then just one small edit, Cheryl. Let's put November 23rd on there rather than 2 weeks. I don't want this. Yeah, so November 23rd. Just insert that, and then let's take a vote on that.
2 weeks. Chair Hyland?
Aye.
Chair Hyland, aye. Member Padmanabhan?
Aye.
Member Padmanabhan, aye. Moved by Chair Hyland, seconded by Member Padmanabhan to find jurisdiction to refer the matter to the task force with a recommendation to find a violation of 6725 for failure to respond to an immediate disclosure request in a timely and or complete manner, and note that the respondent has promised to provide records by November 3rd, 2021.
November 23rd.
Yeah, 23rd. I didn't say that. Yeah, it's November 23rd.
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Burke. Thank you, Mr. Petrellis.
All good. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next, please.
All right. You ready?
Yes.
Item number 7, file number 21139, complaint filed by Harris Hudson against Randy Quezada in the San Francisco port for allegedly violating Administrative Code Section 6725 by failing to respond to an immediate disclosure request in a timely and complete manner. This is the first time this case has been heard.
Okay.
Do we have our parties? Do we have a petitioner?
Harris Hudson's present. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. And is Mr. Quezada present from the port? Press *6 if you're trying to unmute yourself.
This is Randy Quezada with the port, present.
Okay, great. So everybody's here. Chair Hyland, are we ready to begin with the petitioner?
Yes, please.
Okay. Mr. Hudson, you have 5 minutes to speak. You ready?
I'm ready.
Go ahead, sir.
Firstly, I'm sorry. Firstly, I'd like to thank the board for giving us opportunity to talk to you. On February 9, 2021, I sent a public records request to the Port of San Francisco via email. This public records request was for emails that I sent as a former probationary employee at the Port of San Francisco. I required these records to be provided within 15 days as part of another EEO discrimination complaint I had lodged elsewhere. The respondent has provided no information or evidence to support this claim in an email that was sent to me on March 6, 2021. Quote, your initial request on February 9, 2021 was blocked by the sender policy framework record of your domain, end quote. Further, no information or evidence to support this claim of an SPF failure test at the time of February 9, 2021 is present in any of the respondent submitted documents in the attachments to this meeting. Had the respondent simply provided the SPF failure details in relation to the email that I sent on February 9, I would be satisfied and this issue closed. However, because the respondent has alleged this technical issue, then they really must be forthcoming with evidence to support this. Since any such evidence has not been provided, I feel the board must find the respondent has violated the appropriate sunshine statutes. Should the board find that the respondent did not violate the ordinance, then I suggest this will set a dangerous precedent going forward in that it will potentially allow departments to arbitrarily not respond to email-based public record requests by simply stating an SPF failure on behalf of the requester. Because the respondent has failed to demonstrate an SPF configuration issue on my email dated February 9, 2021, I feel the board must find there is sufficient evidence that the respondent has violated the appropriate sunshine statutes. Thank you. Please.
Everybody else who's not talking, please mute your microphones by hitting *6. Mr. Hudson, is that the end of your statement?
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Is anybody here to talk on behalf of the petitioner?
Respondent.
This is the petitioner. Hearing none, Cheryl, please let Mr. Quezada know when you're ready.
Mr. Quezada, are you ready to speak?
Yes, this is Randy.
Okay. Go ahead, sir.
Okay. Thank you for the opportunity to speak, and please bear with me. My children are being a little unruly right now, so I'm sure you've heard me pleading with them to please be quiet or at least to keep it down. That said, thank you for the opportunity. I wanted to respond by noting for the record that we did provide all of the request records that we had available to Mr. Hudson. We received the request on March 4th, and on March 5th, we provided all of the records to him. I'm not an IT expert, but when I received the email from someone else on port staff saying, hey, did you receive this records request on the 9th? I checked. I had no record of it. And I said, hey, let's go ahead and get started on this records request. Let's start lining up all of the documents that are responsive and get them to the requester. Meanwhile, I checked with our staff, with our IT staff, who checked. I don't understand what an SPF framework is. So, I have to trust the good faith of our IT staff. And I had them check, and they explained to me that this is what happened. And subsequent to the 9th, some change was made on Hudson's domain to allow other emails to go through. Presumably, that is how his email later made it to the other staff, who was able to then forward it to me and say, hey, did you get this? I had our IT team check with the city's DT, and they affirmed that situation. So I just relayed to him what was explained to me. You know, I don't have an interest in withholding documents. I'm ready to comply and provide them. In fact, I did as soon as they were available. And I yield back the rest of my time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Caseta. Is anyone here to speak on behalf of the respondent? Hearing none, matter is before us. So, Mr. Hudson, I just want to ask you a quick question. It sounds like you have now received everything that you've asked, and it was a fairly voluminous list. So is that correct?
It was a large, yes, it was a large response, and I was expecting that. However, because every email that was sent to me contains this sentence, I will repeat it again. Your initial request on February 9, 2021 was blocked by the Sender Policy Framework record of your domain. Because it contained that sentence, I assert that is untrue and that the entire response is invalid because of that. The respondent is suggesting I changed an administration record on my email server. That is what they are. That's what they're asserting. Now, if you look at some of the attachments I provided a SendMail log, and just minutes prior to contacting the Port of San Francisco for this records request, I actually contacted the City and County of San Francisco to understand the correct procedures for requesting these records. That was also email-based. Now, the respondent is suggesting I've changed an administration setting on my email server as justification of not receiving these emails. So I am asserting that the respondent must provide that evidence that the SPF failure test did actually fail on February 9, 2021. Again, because they have this sentence in the response, it implies they are in possession of the email that I sent on February 9, 2021. Otherwise, there would be no SPF failure test. The fact that they have mentioned there's an SPF failure test, that implies they are in possession of the email sent February 9, 2021. Thank you.
Okay, so just to restate my question, not even getting into the technicalities, you submitted a request on February 9th. You didn't receive the documents till March 5th. So, right, therein lies a timeliness violation in my eyes, not even getting into the technicalities of why that request wasn't received. So that's enough for us to move forward and, for the record, note a violation at the full task force. What I'm asking you is, putting all that aside, do you now feel that you've received all the information that you originally asked for on February 9th?
I believe it's possible, but I cannot be for certain because I'm asserting there is a false statement in every email that was sent to me as part of these record requests. So I don't know for sure. I don't know if the entire response is valid. It was voluminous. It was very large responses, but every response that was sent to me contains a statement that is untrue regarding these technical settings. So I don't know if it's a valid response is my bottom line.
Right, but that technical statement doesn't affect them sending you information, and it doesn't really concern us. What concerns us is that the response was not timely. That falls within our charter.
That's correct. Yeah.
All right. So, whether that's just a template inserted into any and all emails sent to you from this point on, I don't know. But the fact of the matter is, requested 2/9, not answered till 3/5. So there's a timeless issue right there. So that's really what I wanted to get to the heart of. Member Padmanabhan, did you have any thoughts, any questions? You might be on mute.
Yeah, I'd like to ask the petitioner if there was any change made to your domain in any way in March.
No, there was no change to my email server configuration in March. However, the details that I've sent are as valid as of March 6th. In, I think it was July 2021, so several months later, I did change my service provider. It's like going from AT&T to Verizon. I did change that, and that would change the IP address. But I've clearly stated that in the attachments that I have provided. The SPF test that the respondent has provided on page 248 of the attachments is a false premise because it is basing an SPF test on the current time. This is not done in February 9 or even March 6. That test is failing now, and I have changed my server details in July of this year. So that's the only change that's taken place.
Okay, got it.
Josh, should we hear closing arguments on this?
Yeah, we can, but I just have one more. Where is it on page 248 that there is proof of SPF provided?
I'll read out a sentence that is on page 248 by the respondent, and this sentence says, I can't go back in time to tell if the combination of IP address such and sender harris@harrishudson.com would have produced a SPF pass verdict, but it currently shows a fail. Now, I'm not disputing that because my server details changed in July, but the rest of the email chain that the respondent has provided, which appears to be dated October 2021, is based on a false premise because it's based on a test as of now. Oh, sorry, as of October 20.
Yeah. So to the respondent then, would you be able to provide proof of the SPF of failure?
So included in the package was an email from on March 5th, Barry Burdick, who is in charge of our IT department. And in that email message to me, explaining kind of what happened, this is where he explains to me the sender policy framework issue. He says, and I quote, "Hi folks, following up on Harrison Hudson's email of 2/9. That message was blocked because the SPF sender policy framework record for his domain, harrishudson.com, did not allow the message to be routed. If I understand correctly, subsequent messages have been delivered. I, Jerry, assume the SPF record was updated sometime after 2/9. Now, I am not a technical expert, and I appreciate that the chair has said that these technical issues really are sort of immaterial because, you know, that's something I cannot speak expertly to. However, what I can tell you is that on March 4th, when I was notified of this request was fulfilled on March 5th. All of the materials were sent to Mr. Hudson along with Jerry's statement saying, hey, this was not received. However, here are your documents. We didn't withhold anything. We provided all of the responsive records in our possession.
Member Padmanabhan, is this SPF thing troubling you? I mean,
it is troubling me, but I think it might be something that we can take up in the full task force too. In the meantime, I think as maybe if the technical department could provide I don't know if they have a copy of the email that the screenshot of the email that they received when they tried sending the March 6th emails. That would help. But just an email from one department person to another is not necessarily proof.
If I may, Jerry, subsequent to that, to the October email that was referenced, went back to DT to go back through the work that led to his conclusion at the time. And since then, they concur, both, the port's IT folks and DT, that message was not delivered. However, what did happen is that shortly after I received the request, we got to work and provided Hudson his records.
Sorry.
Mr. Hudson, you can respond to that.
Yeah, so just from a technical perspective, the SPF test is done by the recipient of the emails. It's not done by the sender. So the SPF test is something that's done by the recipient of the emails.
That's
the fact
the point.
that they're saying it is.
Yeah, that's the point I'm trying to make. So, Member Padmanabhan, this is a glitch or a fault on the port department of the Port of San Francisco. So, regardless, whatever happened, they're late.
Yeah.
I mean, I see this very black and white. I don't think we need to get into the technicalities of why it triggered that failure, right?
Yeah.
Now, unless Mr. Quesada is claiming, well, it wasn't us, it was his domain that triggered this, so we're not late. And I'm not hearing that from you, or am I?
What I'm saying is quite clearly that I did not receive this request until March 4th. And on March 4th, we got to work and we provided the records on March 5th. I don't see how this is late, considering that we didn't receive it until March 4th. He is alleging that this was received on the 9th, and I did not receive it on the 9th. The port did not receive it on the 9th. We received it on the 4th.
I'm not alleging that. I'm alleging that if the respondent can provide the SPF failure test that was done on February 9 email, then this would not be an issue. I would not pursue this. But the SPF failure test is something that's done by the recipient. It's not done by the sender.
So
the respondent is alleging.
Let me just stop you there. Guys, this is not a free-for-all back and forth from you guys. Yeah. You have to go through us. Sorry. Now, I did see in the email there that they can only do that for 90 days going back. And when this request was initiated, we're already past that date. So they're saying that technically they can't do it. Is that correct, Mr. Quesada?
I am not a technical expert. I am relying on the expertise of the Department of Technology and our IT staff. And what they have told me is what I have presented to this committee.
Okay, but further to Mr. Hudson's question, and I see your email here to Mr. Burdick to provide, all the background material, anything supporting their claim there was an SPF failure on February 9th. It looks like he's saying we can't do that. Is that correct? Either because of the 90-day or the fact that they just can't go back in time to look at that log.
So I think that what would be most helpful on technical matters like this is to have the technical experts weigh in. I just am not a technical expert in these matters. What I can tell you with certainty is that when we received the request on March 4th, we responded accordingly. We sought the responsive records We checked and we provided him all records that were responsive.
Mr. Hudson, did you resend that request on March 4th? Is that what happened?
On March 4th, there was a separate email that I sent to the California Department of Fair Employment and Housing. Now, on that email, it had CC'd port employees, and I attached to that email the same email I sent on February 9. So on March 4th, I did not send a formal request at that time, but the email that I sent on March 4th, there was an attachment to the original request that was sent February 9. If I can just add another thing, the port is implying that I have changed an administrative setting on my email server between February 9 and March 4th. Now, I don't know if there's additional evidence permitted, but I can show that I sent an email exchange to the City and County of San Francisco just hours and minutes before I sent this records request to the Port of San Francisco, and that was done by email as well. So the port is implying that my email server was good, and then come February 9, it suddenly went offline, and then March 4th, it's suddenly back. That's what's being implied.
Okay. And do you have your original February 9th records request in the packet? I'm not seeing it.
Yeah, so the source of the email is contained on pages 223 and 224 of the attachments. I've included the text source of the email because I need to include the reference IDs for the send mail logs, which are also included in the attachments. But the original email can be seen on pages 223 and 224.
Okay, I see that now. All right. So, Mr. Quezada, are you a custodian of records?
Yes.
Okay. So the fault may not be yours, but the buck stops with your department. That's kind of how I see this. Looks like a records request was sent. When you received it, you did your job, but this goes up to the department head for timeliness. This is not on you, but this is on the port, because if everything I see here, a records request was made, and it wasn't answered in a timely fashion, and that's kind of going to be my position in recommending this up the chain. So I'm glad Mr. Hudson has all his materials, but the record will show that there was a failure to get this in on time, and I think that's appropriate. And whatever the technical reasons behind it, those facts I think are still solid. Okay, I think we're ready for closing. Mr. Quezada, you go first. We haven't done those yet, have we, Cheryl?
Sorry, no, we have not done rebuttals yet.
Okay. Jaya, are you happy with rebuttals at this point?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. All right. Mr. Quezada, you go first. I have 3 minutes once Cheryl gives you the go-ahead.
You ready, Mr. Quezada?
Yes.
Go ahead, sir.
Thank you again for the opportunity. On March 4th, we received a records request on behalf of Mr. Hudson, given that the request came from port staff who asked, had we received this request? I said no. We researched 2 things. We researched the request. We needed to get him his documents, and we did the next day. We also checked to see what happened. Our technical staff, our IT folks, with the Department of Technology explained the message was not delivered. When the message was delivered to me via another port staff who was copied on another message that Mr. Hudson sent to someone else on something else, immaterial to me. What was important to me and to the port was that it was a records request. We responded to that request immediately. We provided him all the requested records the next day. I yield back my time, and I appreciate everyone's listening and consideration.
Cheryl, are you ready for Mr. Hudson?
Sorry, I've been coughing a lot. I didn't want to do that into the system. I'm ready for Mr. Hudson. Are you ready, sir?
Yes, I am ready.
Go ahead, sir.
Again, I would like to thank the opportunity to be able to talk here. Again, because of the sentence in the email stating that it was an SPF failure, it implies that the respondent was in possession of my email of February 9, 2021. Because the respondent has failed to demonstrate an SPF configuration issue on my email dated February 9, 2021, I feel the board must find there is sufficient evidence that the respondent has violated the appropriate sunshine statutes. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Hudson. Member Padmanabhan, any thoughts?
I can go ahead and make a motion. I find that the Sunshine Task Force has jurisdiction and the records requested are public, and to refer the matter to the full task force for hearing with the recommendation that the task force find a violation of at least of 67.25 admin code.
Okay.
Disclosure request.
I'll second that motion. And public comment on that, please.
I will. Just a second, Chris. This is public comment on the motion. The motion to send the matter to the full task force. Anybody who wants to speak?
Please hit *6 to unmute yourselves. All right, hearing no public comment, take a roll, please.
Member Padmanabhan?
Aye.
Member Padmanabhan, aye. Member Chair Hyland?
Aye.
Chair Hyland, aye. Moved by Member Padmanabhan, seconded by Chair Hyland to find that the task force has jurisdiction. The records are public and make a recommendation to the task force. They find a violation of 6725 for failure to respond to an immediate disclosure request in a complete and or timely manner.
Thank you. And Cheryl, when you package this for the full task force, please list page 223 of our current package as the petition complaint. I'm sorry, as the
I can't list a page, Chris, because they all change when it becomes task force material. So if you had a date, if you want to submit the email to me that you feel is relevant, I can put
What
a
I'm-
cover.
what I'm trying to get to is the original request, the IDR from February 9th is on that page, and I now see it. It'd be much more helpful if that was front and center. You understand?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I'm just trying to.
Yeah,
I could.
those pages will change. Those pages will change. But
Yeah.
maybe if you just take out that page and make it page 1. You can always put it back in the package. You can appear again somewhere else, but I would love that page to come up.
Okay, what page is it for this purposes of this committee?
I just said it now. I've lost it.
Sorry.
What was it?
223, I believe you said.
I think I did. Thank you. Yeah, so in this particular package, and it's it has some of the metadata here showing when it was sent, who it was sent to, and it has the body of the IDR. That's what I want to see. 223 and 224.
All right.
And it can appear again, later in the package, but let's pull that right up to the front. Because that's the heart of the matter right there. Okay, that's all.
I can put it in there if you'd like. Right at the beginning, there's a case summary page, and then just the page announcing complainants package. And I can slip it right in after that page that says complainants package, complainants documents.
Yeah, petitioner, complainant, supporting documents. Make that page 1 of that. That'd be great.
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay. And then make sure it appears again in the rest of the package following the 2 screenshots he took, because that's all part of the, I think. But that I think will help us get us on the right track early on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Quezada. Thank you, Mr. Hudson, for being here. We can go on to the next. Thank you. We can go on to the next item, please.
Item number 8, announcements, comments, questions, and future agenda items by members of the Education, Outreach, and Training Committee.
Nothing on my end. Anything, Member Padmanabhan? I think you might be on mute.
Oh, nothing on my end.
All right. Next item, please, Cheryl.
Item number 9, adjournment. I have 8:02.
If I could do the honors.
Who moves, who seconds?
I can move to adjourn.
Second.
Okay.
All right. Thank you,
All right.
everybody.
I
Good
will
night.
stop recording.
Bye-bye. Thanks, Victor. Thanks, Cheryl.
Yep.
Thank you, Jaya.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
All right. Bye-bye.